Hello, and thank you for joining us for our February 2017 webinar, Website Management. This presentation will be recorded. The recording will be published in our Insider newsletter next week. It will also be available on your compliance website landing page underneath News and Events. If you have any questions come up during the webinar, please post them using the GoToWebinar dashboard so that we can address them during the presentation. Any questions we are not able to address during the webinar will be followed up via email. Our presenters today will be Michelle Lyman, our Operations Manager, and Chad Schiffman, our Director of Compliance. I would now like to turn the time over to Chad and Michelle for today's webinar. Chad?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Derek. It's good to be here today. I know Michelle's happy to be here as well, and we just wanted to take some time to go ahead and talk about some of the HIPAA tools that you have. A lot of the reason we want to cover this is, as you may have noticed, we did send out our HIPAA breach deadline is just around the corner article this week. It's an article that we generally send out every year just to let you know that, hey, if you do have any open breaches, they are going to need to be submitted to HHS, you know, if it is definitely a breach anyway. And we'll talk about that here shortly, but for now we just wanted to go ahead and talk about our HIPAA compliance tools that we have in place for you and how those can help you with your compliance efforts. You know, one of the top questions we receive is, what are my HIPAA security risk analysis requirements? What do I need to do for HIPAA? Do I need to do it for meaningful use? What about MIPS? Is this something that we're going to have to do? You know, and so we want to talk about that first, and then we'll talk about our HIPAA virtual walkthroughs and how those can help you with your security risk analysis efforts. They can help you show your due diligence that you're doing some continuous corrective action within your facility. And then we'll just mention a few of our other resources. So for now, let's go ahead and start with the HIPAA security risk analysis. And what we'd like to say about that is it's not only is it a HIPAA requirement, as we just talked about, it is actually a a meaningful use requirement. It was a requirement as part of stage 1 and stage 2 and was required as part of stage 3. Now, as most of you know, this past year was the last year for really doing it for meaningful use purposes because we've transitioned onto MIPS. Your security risk analysis will be a requirement for MIPS and is required as a base score. So we do want to make sure that organizations who have our HIPAA Plus services are going ahead and getting their HIPAA security risk analysis done. It is very important that you go ahead and get that taken care of within your reporting time frame. So we're here to help you. If you have any questions with your security risk analysis, please feel free to let us know. If you need any information on how to make sure that that's activated for you, you can certainly reach out to your CRS and we can get that taken care of for you as well. Now, with regard to the HIPAA virtual walkthrough, what we'd like to discuss with that is a way for you to, at any of your office locations, you can walk through your facility and act as if you were actually a HIPAA auditor. It gives you a chance to really look at it with a different view. So your whole goal is to say, okay, what can I see? What can I find? Are there things that could be potential risks within our facility? For example, let's say you walk up and you have a receptionist there and her computer screen's turned toward you and you can read another patient's PHI. That is an example of things that you might see on a walkthrough, and it provides you a real-time opportunity to go ahead and address that and get it fixed. Another example is paper PHI. This is something that we see when we go on our site visits frequently, that paper continues to be one of the biggest, I'd say, drawbacks and potential risk areas for organizations. Is it's real easy to forget about that paper. You know, most of us have moved on to electronic health records, and we think, yeah, we only have a little bit of paper. Well, as you do your walkthrough, you'll be surprised where you see paper and how it might be a potential risk area for you. So those are just a few ideas of the ways that the HIPAA virtual walkthrough can help you. I'm going to go ahead and skip HIPAA breach determination and mitigation because we'll go ahead and cover that on the next slide. Now, some of the HIPAA forms and documents we have in our forms library. Here in just a few minutes, Michelle will go ahead and show you the website, and we can show you where some of these forms are kept and how those can help you with your compliance efforts. HIPAA Business Associate resources. I'd like to let you know that we have a HIPAA Business Associate training module that they can take that includes their policies and procedures. We have a HIPAA compliant business associate agreement that you're eligible for at any time. So if you ever need a copy of that, just let us know. Or if you'd like us to review your business associate agreement, just reach out to your CRS and we can tell you the steps for doing so. HIPAA High Tech and Omnibus is something that we're always updating and covering and making sure that it's part of our training. One of the biggest requirements with that was the breach reporting and the business associate agreements, which we are well versed in. So if you need help with that, please let us know there. And finally, the HIPAA privacy and HIPAA security training. As most of you know, we have updated our training this year. It does include a subsequent training that is really a refresher training. So what we've done is we've taken real life scenarios and made them applicable to your organization and how you can actually apply things that you learned from the training versus just the straight policies and procedures that you should be taking at your initial, at the time of hire and initially. So, Michelle, anything else you'd like to add to this slide?
I think you've covered it really well. I think that the most important thing is not only you just heard all of the information that Chad has, so you know that we're able to help you with any HIPAA issues. The nice thing about Healthcare Compliance Pros is one of the things that Chad mentioned. If you have any questions, please reach out to your CRS, which is your Client Relations Specialist. We are here to help you all along the way, and I know that you'll participate in this webinar and you'll think, wow, that was so great. I learned so much today, and then a week from now you won't have remembered exactly what it was that you learned. So please reach out to us when you're ready to start on a project, if you're ready to work on putting your business associate agreements on the website or work on a walkthrough, anything that has to do with HIPAA or really any part of your compliance program. If you feel like you have any questions or are hesitant to begin because you're not quite sure where to start, just give us a call and we'll get you on the right track.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I think that really covers it as well. Let's go ahead and move on to that breach determination and mitigation. So this talks about how to confirm the suspicion of a breach. So let's go ahead and talk about that. One of the biggest questions that we answer is, well, is it a breach? Or what is a security incident versus what is a reportable breach? Or what does something that might be improper use look like versus an improper disclosure? And there's different things like that we answer frequently. Well, as part of our HIPAA Plus services, we do definitely do the breach determination and mitigation, and more often than not, we will answer general support questions regarding a breach. The biggest question that we get is regarding what is that final definition of a breach? Well, it is actually an impermissible use or a disclosure of PHI, and it is definitely presumed to be a breach unless you can demonstrate there's a low probability of compromise to that information. Generally, what we'll see with that is, it wasn't too long ago that we had the low risk of harm threshold, and a lot of organizations still believe that they should only be worried about low risk of harm. Well, it's actually moved on to low risk of compromise since 2013. So things that you want to look at is, was that information actually, what types of information was involved? What identifiers did it include? Are there any, is there a potential for re-identifying the person or the group that was affected as part of this breach? So that's the first thing that you really want to do. This is all part of that 4-factor risk assessment that is a requirement as well. Another thing you want to look at is, hey, who's an unauthorized person or people that may have viewed this PHI? And how was this disclosure made to them? Was it something to where maybe they received a fax in error, or was it just a disclosure that was inadvertent within your, say, reception area? There's different things that you'd want to look at as part of that. The third thing is, was it actually acquired or viewed? Oftentimes something will get sent, let's say you send out a letter in the mail and it is in an envelope and you get it back. That's one way you can say, hey, we sent it out, but it wasn't actually open. They returned it. They knew it wasn't ours. Finally, is the extent to how you mitigated that. So let's say that you send it to the wrong provider and you call them and they say, oh, you know what, we've actually shredded that because we knew it wasn't for us. And then you review your policies and procedures and you make sure that everybody understands that in the event of a fax being sent to the wrong people, we call them, they'll destroy it. And as long as we get those assurances, we know that we've successfully mitigated that risk of compromise. And at that point, then you could say, okay, that is actually really an incident that may not actually require any further action because what we've done is we've mitigated it, we've taken care of it. And here's where the harm comes in. Now you would say, now there's really no harm to the patient. So those are just a couple examples. Let's talk about a security incident example. This is a question that we've been answering frequently. Let's think of a computer virus as an example of a security incident. If the virus gained or compromised PHI in any way, at that point, then it becomes a breach. But if it's just a simple computer virus that you get taken care of and it's swept off, that's more of an example of a security incident. That's one of the best ways for me to explain the difference between the two. Or like we had mentioned before, sending PHI to the wrong physician's office, you could say that that was just an incident and not a reportable breach because they should have HIPAA policies and procedures in place and would want to make sure that they handle that PHI properly. Some examples of breaches that we see all the time, and still one of the top ones, are stolen or missing devices. Make sure your devices are secured. We can't stress that enough. If your devices should be encrypted, that's any mobile device, whether it's you know, a smartphone, a tablet. If you're going to store, access PHI, anything like that, that should be encrypted. Giving the wrong patient a medical record that isn't immediately returned, that could be a suspected breach. It depends on some timeliness and different things with that and how you receive assurances, but all this is part of that determination process and then determining if any mitigation or notification is necessary. So those are all services that we can help your organization with. Michelle, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think that's exactly what we wanted to cover on breaches, so thanks. If you are finished with that, I think I'll move on to the website management portion of the webinar.
That sounds great.
Okay, wonderful. So most of you who are on the webinar today have been looking at our attendees, and most of you, it looks like you've been with our program for quite some time, but I'm just going to start at the beginning and give some basic information, how to access the website, and then we'll go into the actual website, and I'll just be giving you some tips and tricks as to how to manage your program. So first things first, the website URL is hcp.md. A lot of you have been typing in healthcarecompliancepros.com, which is fine too. But if I had the choice, I think I'd like to type in something with 3 letters instead of 54. So try hcp.md as your login, and then your username is always going to be the email address that you provided us. Now, passwords were originally set up with something generic. We usually use the word welcome. I would suggest that you as management team members would update that password so that it's something more personal and private. Other members of your organization don't necessarily need to do so because there is, as Chad's been talking about, no PHI on the website on their training. So I'm just sliding off the slide deck, and we're going to be talking about the website and how we review your account. So first things first, let's look at this report as an example of what you will be seeing when you receive your semi-annual review. We will be sending a report that shows your training, who was assigned, how many of those people have completed it, and then you'll have your percentages. Hopefully you'll all have 100% on your training. We'll also be just taking a look at, are there any breaches logged? Have your safety data sheets been uploaded? Have the business associates and vendors been uploaded with their agreements? And if these are all green, then you're in great shape as far as compliance management. We also look for expired business associate agreements, and we also check to see if all employees are being checked against the OIG, which is the Office of Inspector General exclusion list. And then we will look towards assessments. So have you completed that security risk analysis or that HIPAA virtual walkthrough or the OSHA hazard risk assessment? There are several assessments that are required and that we suggest that you complete on an annual basis. and they will each show up within your report. So let's just jump over here to the actual website. So once you log in, it will look very similar to this. It will have your name here. If you do need to update your profile to a different password, this is where you would do that. And usually we start over here on my accounts because this is where you as a manager will be doing a lot of the work for managing the program. And we don't have enough time today to go deeply into each area of the website, but I just wanted to give you a general overview so that you knew where to find particular things. I will tell you that your client relations specialist has cheat sheets for you. So if you do have questions about how to perform any particular process within the website, just ask if she has some instructions, and then your CRS will be able to send you out an attachment on an email just so that you've got something on hand. Sometimes it's just nice to have a, do this 1, 2, 3 list of tasks rather than listening to an entire webinar again to get the information. So please feel free to request any information you need. I will let you know that you can upload any forms on the website so that if you do get those how-to checklists and you would like to add those to your forms, feel free to do so. You can also upload any documents that you're currently using within your organization, things like an employee handbook, an HR benefits package. You can have those documents just remain here at the account level, or you can assign them to the offices so that users can access that information as well. Again, these are instructions that we can help you with or tasks that we can actually perform for you. I wanted to remind you that you do have a reminders hub that will set up how often your staff members who are past due on their training are receiving invitations to take their training. So you can change the frequency, you can change the next send date. You can also decide who's going to receive a report of the people who are past due. So in this particular office, there are a lot of people receiving the past due training report. You can actually do per user filter and just decide that it's going to be just a couple of people who will be receiving that email. And then you can decide how often they'll receive it. But the email will just be a list of the people for that particular office who are currently past due in their training. I also wanted to notify you that there's been some updates to the SDS Binder. So SDS Binder is where you keep your safety data sheets. If you have been building your binder, you're familiar with this. You can click on any one of the links there and it will open up the safety data sheet so you can immediately look at the hazardous information and first aid measures. To build your binder, you go to the Browse SDS database, and it will open up the database, and this is how you can do either a keyword search or scroll through to find the item that you need to add to your binder. You can also request additional safety data sheets if you do not see something that you need in particular. Go ahead and click the Request SDS, and we will receive that request and be able to add that to your binder for you. I also wanted you to know that there is a desktop binder that's available for every workstation in your organization. So if you click on the desktop binder, you can actually drag and drop this open binder access to your desktop, and it will provide a hyperlink, a little icon on each desktop so that they can actually access the safety data sheet binder without logging into HCP. So they'll have instant access. So you'll want to do that for those of you who do have the SDS binder active on your website. You'll want to drag and drop that icon to every desktop. And if you do not currently have this, that's something that you can request, and we can discuss how we can add that to your program. Chad talked a lot about the breach log. I wanted to let you know that this is where it's housed. So if you do have that HIPAA service where you have the breach log, this is where you would submit the new breach. You would just fill in each of the fields and submit the report. And once we receive the information, including your description of the breach, we will reach out to you with breach mitigation instructions. So we will tell you what steps you need to take. Then once you've taken those steps, you would then document the steps that you've taken. We'll take a look at that, make sure that everything's complete, and then we'll close the report. At that point, you will have a report of all of the breaches that have been logged, and right now there's nothing there, but you would have a log of each breach. This is also where you can look at the I'm in the reporting tab now. I kind of went fast there. But in the reporting tab, you can also look at the assessments, so you can see at a quick glance which office has completed their assessments, the user that completed them, and also the date that they were completed. If you go to the reporting tab and look at assessments and it's empty, that's kind of a big red flag for you that there's some work that needs to be done within your organization. So if you do find that it's empty and you have some questions as to how to begin handling these assessments, completing your walkthroughs, your security risk analysis, and your OSHA hazard risk, just go ahead and give us a call. We'd be happy to help you with that. I also wanted to quickly touch on the business associates and the OIG exclusion list. These are tools that we can help you with. Some of you are choosing to manage this process in-house, but it is a service that we can provide for you. And basically what it is that the Office of Inspector General has requested that all organizations check their staff and their business associates against the LEIE, which is the list of excluded individuals and entities. And when we run your staff against this list at the OIG, you want it to come back no match found. No match found means that these individuals or these entities, BAs or vendors, are not listed on that exclusion list. So this is what you want to see. You can decide who you want that to go out to by just clicking on the email notifications tab and just choosing the individuals who will receive that report on a monthly basis. So we're a little bit short on time, but I wanted to show you just a couple of other things before we close today. I want to make you very familiar with this reporting tab. This is where you'll find a lot of information, and if you are searching about what's going on with your account, this is where you go. So if you want to look at training reports, you can look at the check marks, you can look at dates. It will show you who is incomplete in their training. It will show you who's taken the training. This also represents all training that's been assigned. You can download this as a CSV file to Excel if you'd like to further manipulate it. But you can look at dates, you can look at particular training, you can look at time frames, you can review one office or department at a time. You can also review it by just looking at your providers, and you can look for individuals. All of these reports are printable. This is also where you can see if you have dates of birth for all of your staff members. You may think, well, I thought we had all of the dates of birth. Why are only a handful of people being checked against the exclusion list? You can look on that created file and notice that there are a lot of individuals who do not have their date of birth listed. If that's the case, reach out to your CRS. He or she can send you out a spreadsheet, and you can put the dates of birth on, and we can upload those for you all in one shot. Let's pop over to the office for a moment now, because I wanted to show you some of those tools that Chad was mentioning previously.
Just real quick, Michelle.
Sure.
We did have a question come in about the SDS Binder.
Oh, sure.
Oh, actually, it looks like Chad did that, but someone might have the same question. For organizations that have multiple sites, do we have to do an SRS for each site, or do we have one for the entire organization? SRA is what they meant, not SRS.
Okay, so SRA. Okay, yeah. So this is Chad, do you want to jump in and answer that, or are you okay if I?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, either way. Yeah, I went ahead and I answered it, but basically, as long as your organization has the same policies and procedures at your office location, at each office location, you can go ahead and just do the one SRA. And in fact, within the SRA, it does allow you to enter the locations of your other facilities. If you have a different EMR at one of those facilities, that might be another reason why you'd want to consider doing a second SRA. That way you make sure you address all the functionality within that as well, because we do ask some IT specific questions in our later sections. So.
Thank you. Yes, and please, type in your questions. We will answer them during the webinar. I know we're about done, but if you do have any other questions, please quickly type them in and we will answer them at the end. But I did want to show you that this is where the tools and assessments are housed. So inside of your office, this is where you'll find the HIPAA virtual walkthrough and the security risk analysis, which are your HIPAA assessments. The OSHA self-inspection is very similar to the HIPAA virtual walkthrough that Chad talked about, where you were looking for PHI infractions. Only with the HIPAA self-inspection, excuse me, OSHA self-inspection, you're looking for OSHA infractions. So slipping and tripping hazards, bloodborne pathogens issues, hazard communication, regulated waste management, things like that. On each slide that you're looking at, it will give you a bit of a tutorial as to what you need to be seeing, and then you can answer the question. And I would suggest that the most important part of any of these assessments is your comment area. If you do not leave a comment, then 6 months from now or a year from now, when you come back and you look at this, you won't know where you were at or what improvements you've made in the meantime. So please make sure you put your comments so that this becomes a very useful and meaningful tool for you. Once complete, you will have a printed version, or at least the option of printing it, so that you can have all of your comments. Really great piece of information that you can use during your quarterly compliance meetings to determine things that you need to work on. So those are your tools and assessments. Let's just go over in our last couple of minutes just the basic things that you will be doing to manage your employees. So let's say you have a new employee that's coming on board. You would go ahead and enter the office, select the Employees tab, go to the Create New Employees tab, fill out the fields, and click Save. Once you click Save, it will bring up that person's account and you will be able to add their training. They will all have pluses, and you can just choose the training that that person needs to take. If it's an employee that you're changing the training for in the future, you can remove trainings by clicking the minus sign. If it is a new employee and you want to invite them right away to take the training, you can click Invite and it will send them an invitation right now. Say they're starting in the middle of the month and you don't want them to wait until the beginning of the next month to receive that initial invitation. With the Reminders Hub, how it just cycles through and just automatically picks people who haven't taken the training in the last 12 months. You can just go ahead and click Invite and get them to get their compliance training completed before they even start working for you. You know, their first day on the job, they're going through their onboarding process. Go ahead and have them take their compliance training. I also wanted to just mention that you do have excellent reference materials here. If you want to review your policies and procedures for any of your compliance areas, you can click on this. There's a table of contents, there's a searchable field. It will take you through all of the policies and procedures that are part of your particular program, including your customized content. It's printable or searchable. And one of the final things is the forms category. If you do have questions about, let's say you were questioning breaches, we showed an infographic on our slideshow. It did have that quick reference breach checklist. If you want to have that on hand, here's how you would find that. Again, there's hundreds of forms, everything from HIPAA to OSHA, corporate compliance, OIG CMS, pretty much anything that you would need to manage your organization as a on an organizational level, things like employment offers, job descriptions, things that you may not think of as being compliance related. These types of things are also available for you, including things like posters. So if you need an updated poster, you'll be able to find those here on the website as well. So that is the quick overview. Again, if you have any questions, you need to reach out to your CRS. If you can't remember who it is, then log into your dashboard and you can type in your question here and it will be submitted to our support team. This is our main phone number as well, so if you have any questions or just need some help in getting a project started, you can call that number as well. Any other questions, Derek?
Yeah, we just had one other. If you need to modify a module, do you modify it on the count level or do you need to modify it for each location?
Okay, excellent question. Let's answer that as our final question. If you have specific policies and procedures that you want to train on within each location, then you would make the course customization at that level. But once you do that, once you make the decision to do that and you are customizing your courses within that office, you need to realize that that customization is only for that office. So generally, we suggest that organizations perform that customization from the account level so that when they change something in their courses, if they update uh, Michelle Demo to, let's say Cherry Bomb is now the privacy officer. Whoops. I'm just not making, here we go. Here we go. If we're going to change it to Cherry Bomb, which I am today, save the settings, and it's not only going to change the settings here at the account, it will change that slide for each and every office. So there's Cherry. So that would be my suggestion. If you have one set of policies and procedures, that you would definitely make those changes at the account level.
Great, thanks, Michelle. And
Anything else?
we did have another one.
Oh, okay.
We could just do one more and then I think wrap it up for the day.
Okay.
If you have CME courses and also the same course without the CME, do you need to modify them separately?
Yes, you do. So if you've made a change, like I just made that change, so Cherry Bomb is the officer, then you would want to copy that information and also paste that into the same slide in your CME course. Good questions.
All right, great. Thanks, Michelle.
Mm-hmm. And then, Chad, I think you were going to review the 5 things to do now.
Yeah, just in closing, we just wanted to give you 5 tips or things to do now. By now, we just mean this is good things to do each year. For example, we talked about the HIPAA virtual walkthrough. If you have the opportunity, go ahead and do a walkthrough through each of your office locations. Conduct or update your HIPAA security risk analysis. I would do this, if you're participating in MIPS, it's a good time to do it. If you're participating early on or if you're going to do it later in the year, make sure you do that. That's in line with your MIPS reporting period, even though it is a transitional year. That's what we'd recommend this year. Or if you're participating in an APM, depending on your organization, you want to verify that, make sure you get that done. Third is update your breach log and report any 2016 breaches. We spent a lot of time talking about that. The deadline is March 1st of 2017. Those are for any breaches that just need to be reported to OCR. If you have any questions about if a breach is reportable, please do reach out to us. And finally, I just wanted to confirm that your training contains your current policies and procedures like Michelle was talking about. You can do that at the account level, or if things are different at each office, you can do it at that location. I'd like to go ahead and at this time close the webinar and tell you thank you for attending. This webinar will be recorded and published in next week's newsletter. If you have any questions, our contact information is there on the left. You can reach Michelle by email or phone, or you can reach me by email or phone. Once again, we'd like to thank you for attending this webinar and have a great day.